What's on investors' minds right now? Maybe the economy, jobs, inflation, and likely ChatGPT. It is a free, publicly available AI chatbot. ChatGPT is the fastest growing user-based platform in history and has likely come up in conversations that you're having at the dinner table of late. So can artificial intelligence help investors make investment decisions? And what does it mean for our future? We're going to dive into that right now on UBS Trending. Hi, everybody, and welcome to UBS Trending. I'm Anthony Pastore. I'm sitting here with Dan Chung, CEO and CIO from Alger. Dan, great to have you. This is a fascinating conversation. And I was just saying to you before we started, I had not heard of ChatGPT at all, surprisingly. But in the last 2 weeks, it's come up in conversations so many times. So it's really starting to catch on in conversations. So before we get into what it is, the question is, I think a lot of investors are wondering, can AI like ChatGPT replace financial advice, or is it just too soon for us to know the answer to that question?
So we were curious too, and we actually asked ChatGPT the question of what's the future of financial advice. And it gave us 4 interesting comments. One, the benefits could be increased automation of things like trading or rebalancing client accounts, improved customer service, obviously 24/7, more data-driven advice, and then finally greater accessibility by reducing the cost. Presumably you could serve more clients. But at the same time, when I looked at the answer, it's sort of like, okay, it's a good list, but it's a pretty basic list and was in no way actually financial advice.
It's interesting because our own CIO here at UBS did something similar where they asked it a specific question and said, I have a tax bill coming, should I sell from my portfolio or take out a loan? And it provided an answer like investment performance. It talked about loan terms and emergency funds, but it left out some pretty crucial personal items like your risk tolerance or expected cash flow in the next couple of years, your interest rate outlook, time horizons, liquidity, things like that. So and then, by the way, it also said you should speak with your financial advisor. So it did give good advice there, but it wasn't a complete answer to the question.
Well, it wasn't actually an answer. I thought it was very clever, avoidance of the answer, right? Because the answer was, what should I do?
Right.
And it said, basically, you should think about these things, but then go talk to somebody who knows more than I do.
Yeah. So let's talk about ChatGPT a little bit now that we've kind of given maybe the warning to investors that you can't really get financial advice here. Take us back to where it started. What should we know about it? Because, again, I think more and more people are talking about it right now.
Well, if I can take it back to where it started, I guess the first introduction to this would actually be in 2017 with Alpha Zero, Go. That's the computer that beat the Go player, the Asian game of Go. But that would be considered kind of a narrow form of artificial intelligence, i.e. the game rules are set. Now, the magic of that one was that it wasn't given any instructions or anything like that. It just basically played itself millions of times and then ultimately learned how to play the game better than the best humans and computers. So that was the first step. ChatGPT is now the second step. And the second step is an important one. The category is called generative AI. And what that means is it's not just taking a set rules or data and analyzing and giving an answer, which was AlphaGo. It's able to generate new and novel kinds of content. So ChatGPT, of course, the main content it's generating is language, answers, that are looking like they're produced by a human being.
Right. They're more conversational in their response than doing a search in a search engine that just gives you a link to another site. It's actually telling you, like, for example, I want to throw a kid's birthday party. What are some ideas? Well, we have a few ideas for you. And it's as you're talking to a friend on email.
Right. Exactly. I mean, we've looked at it for example, you can say something like, I want to go on vacation in November, family of 4. My budget is this, 10 days, and I want to go to places that I haven't been before. Can you give me an itinerary, and can you help me find the hotels and actually make some bookings? And it can go down that list and give you the sort of sample itinerary and bookings. But it's a very generic vacation it's planning for you.
That's right. That's right. And if everybody asked the same question, you'd all be at the same resort at the same time.
Right.
But there are some things about it that clearly are things that people should be aware of, some risks and some information. For example, the data only goes up until 2021, so it's not really current. And a couple of things that I was really surprised at is the sources aren't fact-checked, and it could be pulling the data from social media, which is not factual. A lot of it is opinion, or there could be even conspiracy theories out there that it might tell you are factual, and it's not sourcing it at all. The other thing that I think that's interesting is that if you are an author, it could pull your exact quotations from a book or a publication and not cite you and give you credit for it. So there are a lot of limitations here with this.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, in the end, it's what they call a large language model that's been trained on a lot of material. And that material is basically, just as you said, it's material on the internet, it's publications, etc. But unfortunately, a lot of the things that you see on the internet, social media, media itself, right? It's the frequency with which we see it is not really indicative of its importance or its factual nature. It's just simply more of a popularity or, frankly, an attention-getting kind of metric. And so there is a problem there with how does it interpret all of that data that it's been trained on.
Maybe someday it can. I mean, machines continue to learn, which is a scary thing to me, being a sci-fi kid myself, watching all the movies and TV shows about robots that take over and all that stuff. I think we're very far from that, thankfully. But there are people who look at data and they think, well, if computers can continue to learn and speak more human and actually understand the rights and wrongs, that'll be really interesting. But you know what, Dan, I want to bring you a little bit more into the investment side. Do you see this kind of AI? I mean, we talk about the Internet of Things a lot. We talk about e-commerce. But when it comes to open AI and things like ChatGPT, do you see these as economic drivers?
They're absolutely economic drivers. And the key point here is that this is just one most modern example of the most powerful force in our economy. And what is that? That's innovation. Innovation driving growth, innovation driving change. And historical examples would start with electricity, trains, the telephone, computing, of course. And now, now we're at the point where it's about artificial intelligence and what we call the age of connected intelligence, where we've got computing power at low cost, we've got network bandwidth, ubiquitous, we've got massive data sets and the tools with which to analyze them. And of course, ultimately, it's the software, the artificial intelligence, that's learning how to more and more not only process and give us, say, answers, that would be narrow artificial intelligence, but generate new and novel content that can even appear human-like, if you will, in its characters.
I'm not sure if it's more just a fear that the more AI you have, the fewer humans will be needed for jobs. Is that something that concerns you when you look at sort of the long-term prospects of using AI more and more?
I think it's absolutely a real prospect. We have to remember, for example, globalization, right, has been a pattern for about 30, 35 years. And clearly, the U.S. lost manufacturing jobs to the rest of the world, right? Why? Lower cost of labor. AI represents the same thing, except rather than a geographical thing, it represents, for many, many businesses, will represent ways to improve automation. I mean, that was the first answer it gave. But however, it allows the opportunity for people to focus in on what are their unique skills and capabilities. And the one thing I think we should never forget is I believe people ultimately want to interact with people, right? We're more entertaining, we're more unpredictable, but it's nevertheless, still people to people. And in fact, the financial services is one of the ones where, for many reasons, people would say, why haven't the what do you call those, bot investing already taken over, right? And the answer is because when people are talking about their financial well-being, they want to talk to a person who understands them. And look, there's famous examples for ChatGPT. I used one at the holiday party. So I gave a holiday party speech, and I tried to get ChatGPT to help me write the speech. I did, the Shakespearean thing. I said, do the rap thing. I said, mix in this and that, references to this and that. And, it came out with text. It was like B- text.
Okay.
I mean, if I'd actually read it to my employees, they would have been, Dan's become a robot. And wow, that was like the worst holiday speech ever, And, instead I gave a speech that had some bullets, and essentially I riffed off of some themes that I'd come up with in my head. And I like to think it was you'd have to poll my employees, but I think it was a very good speech relative to the ChatGPT one, because it gave the employees what they really wanted, sense of togetherness, coming through a difficult market, but facing the future with confidence, continuing in our style of investing, and also some reminders of, why it's fun to be at Alger and what we're doing.
That's right. I'll have to ask May Poon, who's my friend and also an employee of yours, how she felt about that speech. Well, Dan, listen, this is a really good conversation. Thanks for taking us through. It was great to see you.
Thank you, Anthony.
Great. And for more information, please visit our website, ubs.com/views. Plus, that CIO blog that I was telling Dan about here in the audience as well is available for you to read there too. And make sure to follow us on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Plus, all of our replays are available for you on demand of this show at ubs.com/studios and the UBS YouTube channel. Make sure to talk to your financial advisor. Don't rely on things like ChatGPT to make your investment decisions. Certainly not for now. But anyway, until the next time, everybody, we're very happy you joined us. I'm Anthony Pastore. Have a great rest of the day. Remember to keep your eyes on what's trending. We'll see you soon.